Yeah, you can go ahead, Priranjan, with the introduction and the topic of presentation today.
Okay, thank you, Mahesh. So let's move on to our third agenda of today's Sunday Dhamma School. So our third agenda is main speaker by Mr. B.D. Borkar. So let me give you a brief introduction about our main speaker today. So Mr. B.D. Borkar has MSc in chemistry in 1975 from Nagpur University. He was working as a lecturer in Dr. Ambedkar College at Diksha Bhumi, Nagpur from 1975 to 1977. He later joined as appraiser in Custom House, Mumbai, and retired as Additional Commissioner of Customs in 2011. He was president of BAMSAFE from 2003 to 2007. He was also chairman of D.K. Khaparde Memorial Trust, president of Mulnivasi Sangh for 2 years, president of Mulnivasi Karmachari Kalyan Mahasangh for 2 years, president of People's Party of India Democratic from 2018 to 2021, and secretary general of People's Party of India Democratic from 2024 to 2025. So, yeah, let's start with today's session with Mr. B.D. Borkar, who is very accomplished. Yes, sir, you can start.
Content.
Yes, sir, we can hear you, sir. And just to let you make sure that today's topic for the presentation, sir is going to cover the political history of the making of the Indian Constitution. That is the topic of the today's presentation. So, sir, you can go ahead. We can hear you.
Thank you, Mahesh.
Yeah.
And Jai Bhim to all of you. As I said the last time, I don't know where we have discontinued it, but let us start afresh. Huh? So, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, he started his movement by organizing Bahishkrit Hitakarni Sabha in 1924. And immediately, 1928, Simon Commission came here in India. It was also called as a Royal Commission. Simon was the one of the lords in the House of Lords, so he was leading that commission. Therefore, it was named as Simon Commission, but otherwise it is a Royal Commission. Now, when the Royal Commission came, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar from Bahishkrit Hitakarni Sabha, he sent a representation on the conditions of the untouchables in India and wanted that they should get their rights. So the first thing, then since the Congress has boycotted that Royal Commission or the Simon Commission, Simon has to go back, and then the British government has invited a roundtable conference there. The first roundtable conference, two members from Untouchables, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar and R. Srinivasan from Madras Presidency and Babasaheb Ambedkar from Bombay. They were invited, and in the first roundtable conference itself, the demand which Babasaheb placed for the rights, you must take a note of it. He said we wanted a civic and political right. Now, why civic rights? Because we had no even civic rights. We are not allowed to take water from the wells, and we were not allowed to walk on the roads. So these are basically a civic rights in the sense, as soon as the man, whoever takes the birth, these are naturally the human rights available to him. But then in India, the condition was so bad, and these untouchables were treated inhuman. So he demanded the civic and political rights. Now, before coming to the subject, the political history, I would like to narrate what he said there in the roundtable conference. 3-4 points I wanted to just make it clear to you. The first, need of a political power to the depressed classes. because it has something to do with the constitution. And as I said, he demanded the civic and the political right. I just read it for you. Indeed, so far as we are concerned, the British government has accepted the social arrangements as it found them and has preserved them faithfully in the manner of the Chinese tailor who, when given an old coat as pattern, produced with pride an extra replica, rain, patches, and all. Our wrongs have remained as open sores and they have not been righted, although 150 years of British rule have rolled away. So he was sarcastically telling them, so Britishers, that we do not accuse the British of indifference for want of a sympathy. He said, we do not want your sympathy. What we do find is that they are quite incompetent to tackle our problem. Oh, see, that is the period Britishers were ruling India, and the Baba Sahib went there, and on the face of it, he told them that you are incompetent people to rule. This is one thing I wanted to tell you, and there are so many quotes. One more quote I will just tell you, and then we will proceed with how the Constitution was being framed there. Let us understand what the franchise does really mean. Because when he was talking about the political rights, it means that we should get a franchise, adult franchise. So he said, let us understand what the franchise does really mean. Surely the franchise does not mean a mere matter of ballot box, does not mean a mere matter of polling booths and placing of polling officer there. Franchise means something more than that. Now, sir, he was addressing to the Prime Minister there because he was heading that committee. As I understand it, to me, the suffrage and the franchise are nothing else but the right of self-defense. What he is trying to tell them that we have no rights. We wanted a political rights, and the political rights we wanted because we wanted to have something with us so that we can defend ourselves. Then surely every individual who is going to be a subject to that legislation ought to have the powers to defend himself against the laws which will probably, in the circumstances, invade his liberty, invade his life and his property. So there are many, these all you will find these quotes which I have given one or two, you will find in volume 2, writings and speeches, because it contains the political history, how it is developed. So there, in that, when he went there, now during this period, as I told you last time also, Lord Birkenhead was Secretary of the State for India. He challenged this Congress people. Congress wanted the home rule, and so therefore, Lord Birkenhead said, who was the Secretary of the State, he said, okay, if you want that, how are you going to run the country? You prepare a constitution for that. So constitution, the Congress Working Committee has assigned this responsibility to a constitution committee, which was framed in 1928. So what I told you, a incident which when Baba Sahib went there, so there he spoke whatever I told you, one or two quotes, and many more are there. But before that, there was a challenge given to the Congress that you have to prepare your own constitution if you really wanted to rule India by home rule. Home rule means that the Britishers there will be a rule of the Britishers, but in a country, the Indians should be allowed to have a government and all that. So there, the Congress Working Committee has framed a constitution committee. It was headed by Motilal Nehru, and the secretary was the Jawaharlal Nehru. I don't know how only these two persons were competent enough in the entire Congress, that it is a family rule or something like that. Then they have prepared a constitution. It is available on the net as Nehru report. So there, in the draft which Motilal Nehru has prepared, there they do not want to give a franchise, adult franchise to the people of India. They wanted to give only a limited franchise, and limited franchise also to the people who are educated, who are having property, who pays taxes and all that. But when this draft was placed before the Congress Working Committee, the Congress Working Committee, of course, there were members from the untouchables community also, because what has happened when Mr. Gandhi took over the Congress from Bal Gangadhar Tilak, he opened the membership of the Congress, Four-Anad membership, it was called as Four-Anad membership, to everybody, in every Indians. So therefore, some people from untouchable community were also the members of the Congress, and some of them were adapted in the Congress Working Committee. The reason was simple, because Gandhi wanted to challenge the British, and he wanted to create a movement and throughout the country. So therefore, he wanted to involve the people from the country, and therefore the membership was given. So in the Congress Working Committee, those who were from the untouchable community, they said nothing doing. We also wanted a franchise, because we were not educated, we were not having property, we were not paying taxes. So by that, they wanted to exclude us. The Congress wanted to exclude the untouchable people from the franchise. So the untouchables who were present there in the Congress Working Committee, they said no, we also wanted it, and therefore they have to agree to that in the Congress Working Committee, and that report has come finally as a Nehru report. So first it was a draft, and then the Nehru report. So in the Nehru report, the adult franchise was accepted. Now, when these members who were there in the Congress Working Committee and who had signed the documents that the adult franchise will be given to the Indians, some of the members, they also went to the roundtable conference who had signed that Nehru report. And there they have somersaulted. There they have opposed the adult franchise. So there Baba Sahib stood and he said, nothing doing unless the adult franchise is provided to all the citizens who have attained the age of 21 years, then only the question of transferring the power to the British, to the Indians as a home rule can be considered. Otherwise, we oppose to that. So as a representative of the untouchables, both of them, they have opposed. And finally, even they were not prepared to give even 25% adult, 25% franchise. And he said, Baba Sahib said, the most liberals in the Congress, even they were not prepared to give 25% franchise. So you see why I am narrating all this. So whole thing is a politics. It is whole the preparation of constitution was nothing but a acquisition of a political power. Why Congress wanted it? Congress wanted because they wanted to rule this country, and they wanted to rule the country as they want. And why Baba Sahib wanted an adult franchise? Because Baba Sahib was sure if the adult franchise is given to the Indians, the majority in India is formed by the scheduled caste, the untouchables, the scheduled tribes. Of course, these terminologies were not there, that they have come in 1935. But the untouchables, tribals, and the Shudras and Ati Shudras in brief, because those were the terminologies accepted in the society, are known in the society during that time. So therefore, finally, the Britishers have considered that. So this is the first thing, that to move for the political power, because to get a political power, ultimately, if the adult franchise is there, then those who are in majority in the country, they will capture the political power. But what has happened? adult franchise was given. Now, after the adult franchise, there are so many things, the democracy and all that. So during that time, how they were preparing in the constituent in the round table conference, the Britishers were preparing a second government of India Act. The first government of India Act was 1919, and every 10 years they used to review that act, whether people are happy with uh, the administration of India, or they have something to aid to that, they wanted certain more advantages. So therefore they were reviewing that 1920 1919 act. So for that these roundtable conferences were called, and Baba Sahib had participated. So in the minority committee, he participated, which is very important thing. And that I'll just tell you there in the, just a minute, just in his words, I wanted. In 1930, he, before the minority committee, he has said how the future constitution of India should be. So it is very important. There is one appendix added to that. It was a minority subcommittee on 31st December 1930. Condition number 5 to appendix 1. Dr. Ambedkar, on behalf of the depressed classes, said, spoke for the adequate representation in the services, made the following proposals for statutory enactment as a part of the constitutional law. So you can understand it was basically a framing of the second government of India, and that is why. So subclause 3 of that, he said, it shall be the duty of the Public Service Commission. It shall be the duty of the Public Service Commission, subject to the test of efficiency as may be prescribed, 1A, to recruit the services in such a manner as will secure due and adequate representation of all the communities. Now, this is very important. Why? Because this caste problem is there in this country. And as you all know, the caste Baba Sahib want to annihilate caste. There is a separate book and the speech he has delivered. He was to deliver at Lahore, but that speech was not delivered, and then Baba Sahib himself published that. That is known as annihilation of caste. Because he says the caste is anti-national. That at many places he said caste is anti-national and it has to be abolished. If the caste is there, then the problem of India will not be solved. In that context, I wanted to read this: to recruit the services in such a manner as will secure due and adequate representation to all the communities, not the caste, all the communities, and B, to regulate from time to time priority in employment in accordance with the existing extent of the representation of various communities. So basically, India is not composed of a caste. India is composed of a different community. For example, we have Christian community, we have Muslim community, we have Hindu community, we have untouchable community, we have Parsi community. All these communities. So India is basically composed of communities and not the caste. Caste is alien to India. Caste has, if you see the genesis of the caste, after the Aryans invaded India, they have defeated the original inhabitants of this land and they have imposed the Varna Vyavastha on these people of this land. And subsequently, from Varna Vyavastha to the caste identity. So basically, if you see, since it has come through the invasion, it means to rule over the country. They wanted to keep the administer India, and to administer India, they wanted to keep the control over the people. It was difficult for any alien people, outsiders, to control and administer large section of the society, majority section of the society, and therefore they have introduced the caste there. So if we see from that point of view, then it is basically a political identity in the sense to administer and control the people, the society, the, the caste identity was created. So it is not a original identity for the Indians. The original identity is we are original inhabitants of this land. Many communities were residing here, and therefore Baba Sahab all along during his presentation and participation in the roundtable conference, he was continuously mentioning the terminology community. Probably you may feel that why I am stressing on this and not continuously narrating the political history, but it is a part of that. So you have to bear with me. See, so at one place in 1929 itself, in 1942, when he was inducted in the uh, Viceroy's Council in 1942, and he was handing over the reign of this movement to his followers. So he made a long speech in 1942. There he said, the untouchables are not the part or subset of the Hindus. We're not Hindus. He has clearly said this in 1942, referring to starting point of his movement in 1929. That we are. So he said, I have built the foundation of my movement on this thesis that the untouchables are not the part or subset of Hindus. And therefore, if they are not Hindus, then they should be provided a separate rights in the constitution. As the Britishers were willing to give it to the Hindus, and the Britishers were willing to give it to the Muslims, and the Britishers were willing to give it to the Anglo-Indians. So likewise, he made a minority caste, because these are all minorities. Hindus, of course, they were claiming to be the majority, but Britishers were ready to give some rights to the minorities. There is another history to it. In 1906, Muslim League was formed, and in 1909, a separate electorate was given to Muslims. So why? Because they were a minority. So therefore, Baba Sahib has made the untouchables caste as a minority caste. If the Muslims are minority and you are giving them a separate rights, then the untouchables are also a minority. So therefore, they should also be given a separate right. He said, we are not Hindus. And this is, again, when I come to the Constituent Assembly debates, there also certain references are there. Mr. Munshi has said what he has said and all that. I'll let you know that when I come to the Constituent Assembly debates while framing the Constitution of India. Now, there, the Muslim League has said the Hindus are deliberately enrolling untouchables as Hindus to increase their population. Why? Because in proportion to the population, the Britishers were ready to give the representation in the Central Assembly to the Muslims and the Hindus. So they, at that time, they have started enrolling untouchables as the Hindus. And the Muslim League has objected to it. That just to increase their population and the share in the central legislature, they are enrolling the untouchables as Hindus. So that also shows what Baba Sahib was saying. Then the untouchables are not Hindus, and therefore they should be given separate rights, political rights. So these are the important debates while framing the Second Government of India Act. and ultimately it was considered by the Britishers. And when it was considered by the Britishers, then all of you know that there was a Pune Pact in the second roundtable conference. In the first roundtable conference, Gandhi did not go there. And in the second, when he came to know that the Britishers have considered the separate electorate even to the untouchables because at par with the Muslims, then Gandhi opposed. There is a quote of Gandhi. Now I don't want to just go through the papers, and it is there with me, but you can read that. And then everybody knows that he has opposed there. And the reservation was given. Separate, we have to forego the separate electorate, and Gandhi has imposed reservation. Because British Prime Minister, Attlee, I think, if I'm not wrong, sorry, MacDonald was there. MacDonald was their Prime Minister, and he said, if you want to oppose that, we already given a separate electorate to the untouchables, and therefore, if you want it to be taken away, then you have to talk to Dr. Ambedkar. And there was a lot of correspondence between the Prime Minister and the Gandhi. Gandhi then, at the cost of his life, he fought against the separate electorate, and ultimately the reservation was imposed. So these political reservation was not our demand. Our demand was a separate electorate as a representation, separate representation. So this you must keep it in mind, how the political history developed. And thereafter, what has happened? Then in 1935 Act, it was incorporated as a reservation. The second votes has to be given up. That part of the history I will not narrate now, because most of our people do know about what has happened in the Pune Pact and all that. Then in 1937 election, the Baba Sahab contested from Bombay presidency. And on the Independent Labour Party he had, and on the tickets of the Independent Labour Party, around 16 people he got elected. Out of that, 13 were untouchables as a reserved candidate, and 3 also got elected on the general candidates. They also got elected on the tickets of the Independent Labour Party. Baba Sahab himself was got elected in the Bombay Assembly. Now, in the Bombay Assembly, at 2-3 quotes which are important. I think I must read those quotes for you. He was speaking to the Prime Minister. Again, as I told you, it was basically a transfer of power. So he said so many things. I'll read it for you. Prime Minister, permit me to make one thing clear. The depressed classes are not anxious. They are not clamorous. They have not started any movement for claiming that there shall be an immediate transfer of power from the British to the Indian people. They have their particular grievance against the British people. But to be true to fact, the position is that the depressed classes are not clamoring for transfer of political power. Their position, to put it plainly, is that we are not anxious for the transfer of power, but if the British government is unable to resist the forces, that have been set up in the country who do clamor for the transfer of political power, and we know the depressed classes in their present circumstances are not in a position to resist that, then our submission is that if you make that transfer will be accompanied by such conditions and by such provisions that the power shall not fall into the hands of clique, into the hands of oligarchy, or into the hands of a group of people, whether Mohammedans or Hindus. But that solution shall be such that the power shall be shared by all communities in their respective proportion. So again, you see here also, there also he said all the communities, they should get the representation. Here again he said, if the Britishers are not in a position to resist to the forces who are clamoring for the power, then if you do that, then our position is that the all the communities should be given representation in proportion to the population. So all along Baba Sahib was making his case that if India wanted, if the power has to be transferred, then every community should get the proportionate representation in the power structure, to which Gandhi and Congress was opposing. They were saying that they are representing the entire India, whereas if they were representing the entire India, if we accept that proposition of the Congress, then how come that the representative of the different communities were there in the round table conference? That means the Congress was making a false claim, and that is how he proceeded. Now, what has happened there in the 1937? Then the elections were over. Baba Sahib elected. He spoke in the assembly. There again, one more quote I would like to just say what he said. We shall fight. This is in the Bombay presidential Bombay presidency. In the assembly he spoke this. We shall fight tooth and nail. We shall fight tooth and nail against politics being perverted for the purpose of establishing an oligarchy of a ruling class. Now, who is the ruling class? Ruling class, he is not definitely referring here to the Britishers, but the ruling class means he was referring to the so-called high caste Hindu or caste Hindu. I will not allow that. I repeat, I cannot allow constitution which will mean liberty for them. I cannot allow a constitution which will mean liberty for them and empire over us. You understand? He said, no, if you transfer that power, it will go in the hands of oligarchy. Oligarchy means those few people, caste Hindus. And if it goes in their hand, then in that constitution, I cannot allow a constitution which will mean liberty for them. For them, they will say, now we have liberated from the Britishers. They may say that. But it will be liberty for them and empire over us. And then as the British Empire is there over Indians, then these so-called caste Hindus, they will get the liberty and they will empire over us. That is what Baba Sahib wanted to say. Thereafter, the situations have changed. Then in 1942, the Cripps Committee came. Because Britishers, why this 1942, this is important period. In 1932, 1939, the Second World War started. And the Second World War means the British forces has to fight with the Germany and Japan, as you all know. So there, I think something is come in writing. I don't know, you are not ready to listen or
No, sir. We are just updating the members. This call is muted because last time our call got hacked. So I'm just
yeah. So should I continue? No, I should continue.
Yes. You continue, sir. I'm just giving in the sideline some message. Yeah.
Okay. So in 1942, the Cripps Committee came. Because of the war, Second World War, Britishers had decided to transfer the power themselves. And they have sent the Cripps, and the Congress was agitating here. So there was a dialogue between the Congress people and the Cripps. And then the Cripps Committee went, and then the in 1946, the cabinet mission. Again, the Mr. Keeps was also a member of the cabinet committee, and there, what is dialogue between the Congress and the Britishers, they have decided to do away with the uh, uh, sort of electorate. Say, for example, in 1942, as the cabinet committee came, and in 1946 itself, there were elections. There were elections to the provincial assemblies, and in the provincial assemblies, Baba Sahab has contested elections in the different provinces in the name of Scheduled Caste Federation, because that was an organization he has formed in 1942, and 1946 he participated in the provincial assembly election, and there Baba Sahab party has completely defeated in all the provinces, except in Bengal. Jogendranath Mandal was got elected, a single member, he got elected, and therefore Congress could make a claim before the Britishers that why are you listening to Dr. Ambedkar? He has no support in India. He has no support in India because his members have not got elected, only one member got elected. And therefore, the separate electorate, which was not given but the reservation only on the reserve ticket, the Congress already have promised that they will not contest against the candidates of the Scheduled Caste Federation, but they have put their candidates against the reserved seat also, and all the Congress people got elected and Baba Sahab's candidates were defeated. So they could convince the Britishers that there is no support to Dr. Ambedkar, and therefore you should not listen to him. With that, Baba Sahab came back. Baba Sahab was there. He wanted that somehow in the political field we should get the representation. And by election, as his candidates were defeated, he was hopeless. He said what to do. So he went again. Separately, he went to Britain. He went to England, and he met this Churchill also. By that time, Churchill's government went out. After the war was over in 1945, the Churchill government went, and again the Labour Party's government came into power, and Mr. Attlee that time was the prime minister. They have not listened to met Churchill, but with no hopes he came back. And then it was decided to frame a constitution for India. There is again lot of literature. Baba Sahib has opposed the formation of a constituent assembly. If you see the correspondence in 1945 for the preparation of the constitution between the Congress and the whatever the dialogues between the Congress and the Britishers. So Britishers have suggested that the Constituent Assembly should be framed and a constitution for India should be prepared. So 1945, Baba Sahib has opposed it. What is there to have a Constituent Assembly? There is already a Second Government of India Act. A lot of things are mentioned there. But from the Scheduled Caste Federation has assigned the task to Baba Sahib to frame a constitution for India and present to the Constituent Assembly. So Baba Sahib done that. So that is again available in the form of a book. That book is, many of you might have read it, and that is the States and Minorities. That is a book, it in the book form, and that is basically States and Minorities. It is a constitution prepared by Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar on behalf of the Scheduled Caste Federation to be presented to the Constituent Assembly. And it was presented also on 12th March 1947, it was presented. Before that, the 1946, after the provincial assembly elections were over and the Constituent Assembly was framed. So, if the Constituent Assembly was to be framed, then there has to be elections for the Constituent Assembly. So, all those members who got elected in the provincial assemblies, they were the electors. They were the electors for the constitution of a Constituent Assembly. It was like a Rajya Sabha elections, and each member who was supposed to get elected has to get at minimum 5 votes to get elected to the Constituent Assembly. Now, Baba Sahib was desperate to go to the Constituent Assembly. Why I am telling you this again? Because he said whatever will happen in future, it will happen as per the Constitution. The country will be run by the Constitution. And while framing the Constitution, if the representative of the untouchables are not there, then there is nobody to speak for us. Whatever the caste Hindus feel, that will only go into the Constituent Assembly, and the Constitution will be framed, and our rights will not be protected. The rights which he had demanded in 1930, the civic and the political rights, those rights will not be incorporated for the untouchables in the would-be constitution. So therefore, he was desperate to go to the Constituent Assembly, but unfortunately, in the provincial assembly, his members were not elected, and therefore there was no chance for him to get elected to the Constituent Assembly. Under this background, the Jogendranath Mandal, who got elected from Bengal, a single person from the Scheduled Caste Federation, he invited Baba Sahib. And he said, you come and contest from Bengal. We'll get you elected to the Constituent Assembly. So there is a correspondence between the Baba Sahib and the Jogendranath Mandal. He was a president of the Scheduled Caste Federation for Bengal. So there is a lot of correspondence that is available. So Baba Sahib has written back to him, how can I get elected from Bengal? You are the single person, and at least minimum 5 votes are required to get elected to the Constituent Assembly. So Jogendranath Mandal has written back to the Baba Sahib that you leave it to me. I'll ensure that you get elected to the Constituent Assembly. And then those Constituent Assembly election took place, and then Baba Sahib, Jogendranath Mandal, that history is again available. There is a research book available on that, and you can refer that. So there, Jogendranath Mandal ensured those scheduled caste people who got elected in the provincial assembly of the Bengal, some independent members from the scheduled caste, they were elected. By that time, we were termed as scheduled caste because, as you know, in 1935, the untouchables were designated as the scheduled caste. So those independent scheduled caste members, 2 or 3, Jogendranath Mandal 1, and 2 or 3, Jogendranath Mandal ensured the split in the Congress. The scheduled caste people who were got elected on the Congress ticket, he ensured that they also vote to the Baba Sahib. And ultimately, and one Birsa, he was in fact kidnapped and kept under house arrest so that he should not come, and he was tribal fellow. He should not go and vote to the Dr. Ambedkar, but somehow he escaped from there, and he also came and voted to the Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar. and instead of 5, Baba Sahib got 7 votes and he got elected. So this part of the history is very important in the sense the how Baba Sahib went to the Constituent Assembly and what for he went there, because he wanted our rights. Our rights must be protected in the future Constitution of India. He went there. Now, one more thing at this juncture I wanted to tell you. There is a there is a publicity by the thing, this Muslim League, that the Muslim League got elected Dr. Ambedkar to the Constituent Assembly. This is wrong. I must put it on record that the Muslim League has not got elected Baba Sahib to the Constituent Assembly. It is the Jogendranath Mandal who ensured the support of the other scheduled caste members, 2 of them from the Congress, 2 of them independent, 1 he himself, and then the Birsa. Why I say this? Because for the Muslims and there was a separate electorate. The members of that community were supposed to vote to the candidates of that community. So if any Muslim candidates were there, so the provincial assembly members of Bengal, Muslim members of Bengal, they will vote to the Muslims because there was a separate electorate for the Muslims. For untouchables, there was not a separate electorate. If you see the Constituent Assembly debate also, Baba Sahib was elected from Bengal as Bengal general candidate, not the scheduled caste candidate. He got elected as a Bengal general. So from Bengal general, Muslims were not supposed to vote to the Bengal general. Muslims, since they were having the separate electorate, they were supposed to vote to the Muslim candidate. So whoever makes this, especially the OIC, he is going here and there and making speeches that the Muslim League has supported Baba Sahib to go into the Constitution. That's wrong. Huh? So this part of the history also our people should know. Now then he got elected there. Now there you see there was a minority committee, there was a advisory committee. Baba Sahib was a member of the advisory committee and the minority committee, and 2-3 other committees that you can read it from the Constituent Assembly debates. It is available. Now what has happened there? In the minority committee, again Baba Sahib, not directly, because when he became the chairman of the doctrine committee, so he cannot move the things himself. But there were some scheduled caste members. Mr. Nagappa was there from Madras presidency. Mr. Pillai was there from Madras presidency. Munnuswamy Pillai. So they were speaking to the, especially Nagappa was speaking for the separate electorate, of course, on the advice of the Baba Sahib. And of course, Pillai was there, but basically there, again, the issue of the identity came. If you read the Constituent Assembly debates, in the Constituent Assembly debates also, the issue of identity came. Whether we are the members of the scheduled caste, we have been designated as a scheduled caste by the Britishers, because the schedule is nothing but the schedule of the untouchable communities. And we're not the caste, we were the untouchable community. At many places in the Constituent Assembly, the reference to us is made as untouchable community. At many places in the Constituent Assembly debates also, the reference to made to Hindus as Hindu community and not the caste. But when it was decided to give a reservation to the untouchables, they have to be put together. So that untouchable community has to be put together, and there they have called as schedule of caste. Now again, why caste? When all along He is mentioning the community, why caste. So you see what has happened. I'll just read how it has come there, because this is all the Congress did, all this mischief. All this mischief is done by the Congress. And I'll read one of the quote in the Constituent Assembly debates. This is by Munshi. K.M. Munshi was also a member of the drafting committee along with Baba Sahab. What he said: so far as the scheduled caste are concerned, they are not minorities in the strict sense of the meaning of the term. That is, the Harijans, they used to call us as Harijans, as you know, Gandhi mischief. And he was a staunch follower of Gandhi. So that the Harijans are part and parcel of Hindu community. I have initially told you, Baba Sahab in 1942, referring to 1929, said that we are not and parcel of the Hindu community. But here Munshi, in 1948, 49, what is he saying? What is he saying? The Harijans are part and parcel of Hindu community, and the safeguards are given to them to protect their rights till they are completely absorbed in the Hindu community. Till they are completely absorbed in the Hindu community. What does that mean? It only means that they are not Hindus. Otherwise, the question of their absorbing in the Hindu community does not arise. So the stand which was taken by Baba Sahab in 1942, referring to 29, that he has formed the foundation of his movement on this plea that the untouchables are not the part and parcel of the Hindu community. They are separate, having a separate class of people, a separate community itself. But here Munshi played a mischief. And therefore, Britishers has to enroll in 1935 also, and subsequently also, we as a caste. In fact, we are outcast. We are not caste. Many of you may be knowing that we are outcast people. We are not within the caste system. So that is all. And here again, the Munshi said, until they are completely absorbed. So indirectly he admits that we are a different people. And these different people has to be absorbed. And this absorption part has started somewhere in at the end of the 18th century. There is another book by Jyotirmay Sharma on Hindutva, wherein he said who are the people who has popularized the Hindu identity and trying to absorb the untouchables in the Hindu community. But one should know that we are not a part and parcel of the Hindu community. We are a different people. Baba Sahib, of that view, he tried his best in the Constituent Assembly also that we should get a separate electorate, because he was sure from 1932 onward, he realized that Gandhi played a mischief. We did not get the separate electorate. Therefore, our two representatives had not gone to the assemblies and the Central Assembly also, so that the laws and the policies are framed protecting the rights of the untouchables. So therefore, he was desperately trying to get our political rights, and not only in the constitution, but our representatives should be there in the parliament and the assembly, so that they will protect our rights. But as you know, what is happened now, all stooges, either of the Congress or of BJP or any other, for that matter, even the communists, they get our people elected on the result sheet and they don't speak. They don't speak for us, they speak for their masters. And that is the condition of the untouchables who are designated as scheduled caste is not changed. Some of us have become officers. Some of us have taken a higher education. You people have gone abroad, doing well there. I retired as a senior officer in the government of India. But the condition of our people at large, for which Baba Sahib fought, did not. So as a drafting committee, when it comes to a formation of a drafting committee and the deciding the chairman, so I really did not get any documentary evidence what made Congress to assign the responsibility as chairman of the drafting committee when they had so many lawyers with them. And especially if you see the political movement of and the way Baba Sahib has opposed to the Congress and to the Gandhi, there was no point that the Congress making Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar as the chairman of the drafting committee. A document which is to be prepared and the drafted by Dr. Ambedkar, by which the country will be run in future. So I did not get any documentary evidence. Why have they made? I know they have made. But why? Somewhere it is again spread that the Congress made Barrister Jaikar to resign from the Constituent Assembly and get Dr. Ambedkar elected from Bombay Presidency, again from Bombay General, because there were no separate electorate for the scheduled caste. It was available to the Muslims and the Sikhs, but not to the untouchables. So therefore, again, what is said that the Congress made Barrister Jaikar to resign, and then from that seat, Bombay seat, they wanted Dr. Ambedkar to be elected to the Constituent Assembly. This is also wrong. If you this Barrister Jaikar, he was a member of Praja Socialist Party, and he got elected. The Congress got him elected to the Constituent Assembly because all over their members were got elected in the provincial assemblies. So Barrister Jaikar was elected by Congress, though he was a member of the Praja Socialist Party, and this Praja Socialist Party was floated by Motilal Nehru, the father of Jawaharlal Nehru, because they had a differences with the Congress. So if you read the from the net about this Barrister Jaikar, he himself has resigned on 23rd June 1947. He himself resigned. And why has he resigned? The reasons mentioned there are that they had a differences of opinion with the Congress, and therefore, as a member of the Praja Socialist Party, he resigned. And on 30th June 1947, then this Rajendra Prasad has written a letter to Prime Minister B.G. Kher, because that time those who were heading the provincial assembly, now we call them as a chief minister, but there it was called as a prime minister. So B.G. Kher was the prime minister of Bombay Presidency, and Rajendra Prasad has written a letter that is there on the record on 30th June. And then they got him elected to the Constituent Assembly. That is okay. So that was their need. Though lot many lawyers were there from the Congress side in the Constituent Assembly, but they were not having a sufficient knowledge of the constitutional law. And therefore they wanted, and why they wanted, so as I said, on 17th December 1946, Baba Sahib made a long speech in the Constituent Assembly, and he said, we are the people from the different community, we are the leaders of the different groups, there are various varying groups, they are speaking against each other, but nobody can stop us from uniting. So with that, the Congress realized that the Baba Sahib a pakka nationalist, because otherwise, since he was opposing Congress and he was opposing Gandhi, they had no good impression about the Baba Sahib, because he was constantly opposing Congress. But when he made that speech on 17th December 1947, they realized that Dr. Ambedkar is a real nationalist, and probably that is one reason I feel and they have no other person to draft a constitution, and therefore they may have assigned, but there is no documentary evidence to show why they wanted him back. Because in 1946, they opposed him. They opposed him tooth and nail so that he should not get elected to the Constituent Assembly. And in 1947, they wanted him in the Constituent Assembly. Not only they wanted him in the Constituent Assembly, they wanted him to make a chairman of the drafting committee. And Baba Sahib, as you know, he took this cause. Why? He took this cause because he wanted to protect our interests. And that is how the concept of reservation. And there again, there is a speech in the Constituent Assembly. If you, I read it again for you. This is very important, and then I come to a conclusion. So, I stress upon the community. At many places in the Constituent Assembly, we referred as the community, untouchable community, Hindu community, Muslim community, and all that. Here again, in the drafting committee, he protected our rights in the fundamental rights. Article 16, which was a Article 10 of the draft constitution, what he said there, I'll just read it. It is 5-10 lines, but you must listen carefully. Secondly, while concluding his final remarks on Article 10 of the draft constitution, which is Article 16 of our constitution, on equality of opportunity in the public employment in the Constituent Assembly, on 30th November 1948, he said, subclause 1 of Article 10, it is a generic principle. At the same time, as I said, we have to reconcile the formula, the demand made by the certain communities. So what were the demand in the Constituent Assembly was not for the caste. The demand in the constituency was made by the different communities, that the administration, which has now for historical reason controlled by one community. Now what is this one community? Brahmins. The administration, he was speaking in the Constituent Assembly where there is so many Brahmins, but he said the administration, which is now for historical reasons controlled by one community or a few communities. Again, here you see, he all along he is using it a community. That situation should disappear. That situation should disappear, and other also must have an opportunity of getting into the public services. And there then he has made a provision and wanted the representation by reservation. And that we got it. And that is how some of us were educated under the directive principles of the state policy, the separate sub-plans, tribal sub-plan and scheduled caste component plan for advancement of the untouchable communities, so that they take their education at the cost of the state, and then representation by reservation was provided under Article 16, as I read just now. And some of them we have got the IAS, IPS, IRS, and all those places. And some you people have got higher education, and you also gone abroad for your betterment. That. So why is it? This is the history. All along, Congress was opposing us. Even 1952 election, Baba Sahib contested that election, first elections from Bombay, and he was defeated by Congress, ensured his defeat. Then again he fought from Bhandara. They ensured his defeat. So Congress was all along. It is not only the Congress. They were as caste Hindus, basically. Whether in Congress, because Jansangh was not there, therefore I am referring to Congress. But because then Jansangh just started and it has no political strength. So all along I am talking about the Congress, and he has also mentioned about the Congress in his speeches and all that. But one of the important speech in 1952 election itself, on 29th October 1951, in the first general election, he delivered a speech at Patiala in Punjab. I'll have to just get that, but that is in the mobile. But the gist of that is, if these untouchables people feel that if they make a political party with the Brahmins, he used the term Brahmins, and if you are of the opinion that your condition will be improved there, then he said, you are mistaken. You are mistaken. Don't go with the Brahmins or the other so-called high caste. These high caste people, they will never improve the condition and give the rights to the untouchables. If you really want, then you should form a separate political front and fight for your rights, which I have provided in the constitution. But these Congress people are so-called high caste people, they will not give your rights. And as you know, even now, what is the condition of our people are still not getting their rights. Whatever in the beginning we got it, now the schools, you see, they have privatized the school. They are abolished the government schools. And that part you read on day-to-day basis what is happening in India. So you see, this is the political history. You must keep it in mind. The Baba Sahab wanted that the political power should be in the hands of our people. If we want to secure our rights, then the political power must be in our hands. We have been fighting for it for the last 75 years. We're not getting it. And this Modi government in 2019, within 2 days, he cleared the EWS reservation, economically weaker section reservation. He got the constitution amended. Whereas when that issue was also came in the Constituent Assembly, and Baba Sahab has opposed it, that there should not be a reservation on the basis of the economic criteria. It is only the social and educational backwardness that he has mentioned. But since they are in power, they got the constitution amendment in the interest of their community. And we have been fighting for our rights for so many years. Will not get. So caste and community, we have to give a different narrative. Why I say we have to give a different narrative? Caste is their narrative. They have created caste in their interest. We are fighting for our rights on the basis of caste. How can it be possible? We cannot get our rights on the basis of caste. More we speak about the caste, they will oppose it. They are opposing it. And only on the caste narrative, those who have created a caste, the benefit will go to those who have created the caste. So if we really wanted to fight for our rights, then that Appendix 1 quotation, Baba Sahab, that all community should get their due representation, adequate and due representation to all communities. So we are a community. So if every community gets their rights in proportion to their population, I think nobody should have any grudge. If we are here around, say, 15, 16%, whatever the percentage, that they are also not doing it. They are not doing caste census. Let us forget about the caste. Community census is already there. We are saying we are a community. Untouchable is a community. You take all untouchables all over the India, their population, you know. Scheduled tribe, again a community. Their population is also known. All other minority communities, their population is known. And the backward classes, Baba Sahib consciously made us a backward class of citizens, wherein the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and other backward classes put together, they make a community. Scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and other backward classes, they make a community. There is no question of classification under Article 40. But the Supreme Court has created a doctrine of classification. When all along, if you read the Constituent Assembly debates and the Baba Sahib literature, all along the Constitution has to revolve around the citizen. We are all citizens. And if we have to be grouped, then we have to be grouped as a community. And all the community should get their due and adequate representation in proportion to their population. Then the question comes, because in a community also, certain people are lagging behind and certain people have advanced. I was delivering a speech at Dubai, and there were Muslim members also who attended it. So there again, they say that among the Muslims also there are castes. I said, not caste. Muslim as a single community. Caste is a artisan identity. You do perform different jobs. Some are carpenters, some are tailors, and different. But basically, they are a community. So amongst them, if some people in that community are advanced and some are lagging behind, so if the communities are provided the reservation, due and adequate representation, then within that community, those who are lagging behind, the community people should decide if they wanted their community to advance at par. So within community, those who are already advanced, they should not clamor for the government's benefits and allow those benefits to be floated to the people in the community who are lagging behind. So the community, so that the entire community as a whole get advanced. So things can be done in a right way, but the problem in this country, those who are in the position of power, they do not want to do it. They do not want to implement this constitution. Yesterday night, I was listening to a debate where UU Lalit, former Supreme Court Chief Justice, and Mr. Dave, who is a leading lawyer in the Supreme Court, they say that what is the problem in giving this representation to all this? In judiciary, we don't have representation. How can we get a justice? Even that Brahmin fellow said, though I am a Brahmin, I feel that it should be given. He was saying that. I don't know whether he was honest or dishonest, but he mentioned that. And Lalit was also a Brahmin. And Lalit also said it should be given. But they do not want to give it somehow, and that is why this position is there. So unless, as Baba Sahib says, unless we have a political power, we cannot get our due and adequate representation in all the institutions of the state, say for legislature, say for executive, and even in the judiciary. And unless our people have due and adequate representation in the judiciary, I mean a higher judiciary, the High Court and the Supreme Court, justice will not get justice. So if we really want justice, the first and the foremost thing, that day we must clamor, go for the political power, as Baba Sahib. Once we get it, then we should ensure that the policies are framed in such a manner that the resources of the state are equitably distributed. That is why the political democracy is known as a formal democracy. And every 5 years there is a elections, people get elected, nothing happens. That is not the real democracy. Real democracy, the substantive democracy is the real democracy. And real democracy flows from Article 38 and 39 in the directive principles. wherein all the institutions of the state should be informed that ultimately the social and economic equality prevails in the country. The resources of the states are so distributed that ultimately the every individual gets his share. So all these things Baba Sahib wanted, but the people in the power, they have hijacked the power, and it all happened because our people are ignorant. Not only the illiterate masses, even the educated people, they are also ignorant. And if they are not ignorant, they do not want to work in that direction. They are happy to with their with family. They do not wanted to work for the cause of the society, and that is why these precarious condition of our people. So my only submission is that those who are educated, they must think seriously and think seriously so that we get united, and we should try to capture the political power. And therefore, I have been saying all along in my speeches also, wherever I go, as a president of the different organizations which you have mentioned in my uh, introduction, and as a political person now, as a Secretary General, and previously as the President of the People's Party of India, we must unite the so-called scheduled caste. They have made a scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, OBC. These are constitutional terms now designed, so we have to use that, but not forever. Once, but to bring them together, and once we bring them together and awaken them politically, so that we form a big lot of 90%. And if we are a big lot of 90%, then nobody can stop us from capturing the power of this country, which Baba Sahib had also mentioned at one place. He said, I have virtually made you the rulers of this country. If the scheduled caste and the OBCs come together, nobody can stop them from coming to the power. And so it is his version only I am repeating. And once we come to the power, then the resources of the state can be equitably distributed. Now in this country, the democracy is already in danger. The autocracy in the name of democracy is functioning. And therefore, it is the responsibility of all the followers of the Baba Sahib to awaken the society, come together, join hands, and ensure that ultimately our people get uh, their constitution. Thank you very much. Jai Bhim, Jai Muli.
Jai Bhim, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. And we are very fortunate today to hear from you on the topic of the political history of the making of the Indian Constitution. Sir, you give a lot of historical perspective, a lot of political documentation that you shared with us. Also, the debate which has happened during the time of the 1906 to the current 1947 on the political debate. So you give basically the whole history of how the Indian Constitution has been created during that time, and what is the Baba Sahib's role to making this Constitution for the people, for the peoples of the democratic India. And with this, sir, I will take some questions from our audience. So I will ask them to unmute themselves. And please go ahead and ask your question briefly only on the topic. Please just, yeah, Sandeep ji, please go ahead.
Javim sir, thank you so much for the wonderful educative speech you have given. Thank you so much, sir. I'm little bit, just for the benefit of others, just wanted to see if you can briefly explain how is separate electorate different from asking for a separate, asking a separate country. And do you think in current times, SC, ST, OBCs, minorities should demand or fight for separate electorates?
No. I have written a booklet on that. You see, first the separate electorate and separate country. You see, there was never a demand for the separate country. There was a demand from the Baba Sahib for a separate settlement. You see, he wanted since you are minority in most of the villages, and there we have been discriminated. So therefore, he wanted all these untouchable people should be located in certain part of the same country, so that they form a majority there, so they can always get elected the right person to the assemblies and the parliaments, who will speak for their rights. So that is a separate settlement scheme. He prepared in 1944 at Madras. There was a working committee meeting at Madras, and there that separate settlement scheme was prepared, and he presented to the British government because he was in the government. He was in the government, but somehow the government, British government, was having the dialogues with the Congress people, and that scheme did not come through. So that was not a separate country, but it was a separate settlement. Now the separate electorate is that we had got a double voting. One is that the one vote that suppose I have two, I was given two votes. Untouchables were given two votes. One vote he will elect a general candidate, and by another vote he will elect his own member from his community. So Baba Sahib was of the opinion that at least that general fellow, because they are biased against us, they are the one who are discriminating against us, so they will never try to protect our rights. But man, a person who get elected on the votes of our own people, at least he will speak for them, and our rights will be protected in the house. So that is a separate electorate, and that we got it. But then because of Gandhi's past unto death, Baba Sahib had to give it up. And then many people make comments now कि वो बूढ़े को मरने देना चाहिए था, ऐसे बोलते इधर महाराष्ट्र में कि उसको मरने देना चाहिए था, हमारा सेपरेट इलेक्ट्रेट उसने ले लिया. बाबा साहब एक जगह he said, see, you do not know how much stress and agony I am going through. You would have been simply massacred had I not accepted the Congress and the Gandhi reservation. You would have been simply wiped out. So that was the stress and the through which the agony Baba Sahib was going. He wanted rights for whom? He wanted separate electorates for whom? For him or for all of us? He wanted for us. And the situation in the country was so that the Gandhi was an unchallenged leader of the Congress. And Congress was the only party. And had he died, they would not have allowed us to leave. We would have been simply wiped out. So Baba Sahib, under that situation, has agreed for the reservation. So this is what I wanted to say on the separate electorate and the separate settlement. You wanted to ask something else also?
Yeah. So in current times, do you think now that we are having good majority of SC/ST, OBC minorities, should we demand for separate electorates now in current times?
No, that is not possible. You see, that time what has happened, it was a tripartite thing. Okay. You see, separate electorate, you demand from whom? There Baba Sahib has demanded it from the Britishers. The caste Hindus one party, untouchables another party, and the third party was the Britishers who were to consider and give it. So they had considered and given it. Now if we demand a separate electorate from whom? From those who do not want to give even the constitutional rights. The rights which are provided in the constitution, they are not ready to give that. So can you demand a separate electorate from them? It is just not possible. We have to form a majority. That is why in 1929, Baba Sahib has made our cause as a minority cause. But the moment the transfer of power came, he moved in the direction of making us as a majority cause. This is all dynamics of the politics.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank
you, sir. Got it. Thank you so much.
Okay. Any other members have any other question? please raise your hand or you can put your question on the chat box. Yeah, please unmute yourself. I think you are able to unmute yourself now. I have to make. Okay, Vivek also wants to make some announcement. Before we go, sir, I will take one last question because the topic was very detailed. We got all the perspective on the historical perspective from Borkar sir, and I think it has been our pleasure, sir, to be on the Vihara call. But I will take one more question, sir. One question that you mentioned that we must be united to be a political representation. And we all know we do not have any political representation. I mean, we do have, there are a lot of our members are in the parliament. Our members means scheduled castes members, we can say. But we do not have the representation. So what is your goal, sir? I mean, what is you are planning to bring it to the masses that so that we can get the political representation
I
5 years?
I have been the president of BAMSEF also, as you have given my
Correct. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was the president of BAMSEF.
Yeah.
Almost 5 years from 2003 to 2007. Then I was the president of Mulnivasi Sangha. I was the president of Mulnivasi Karmachari Kalyan Mahasangha. I was the president of the party. See, these are the wings we have created, conscious wings. Because the BAMSEF is an organization of employees. They have their own limitation. They cannot participate in the politics, as you know. So therefore, but at the same time, our need is that we wanted a political, which Baba Sahib has also said so. So how to get it? A section of the society has to be organized. Now it is very difficult to organize the lower strata of the society because people are hand to mouth. If they are hand to mouth, they cannot spare time, they cannot spare funds. So therefore, we have organized educated class, a service class, who can spare time also. If they really are interested in serving the society, they get so many holidays. And then they get regular salary also. And as Baba Sahib has suggested, 5% of your income you should spare for the cause of the society. So if we awaken this class and secure their commitment for the cause of the society, the funds will come. But they cannot participate in the politics. And that is why all other wings are created. So to capture the political power, the line is awakening. It is, if you see the world history, all the protest movement, if they succeed, they capture the political power. So these wings are created for protest, create a protest movement that the ruling class, the ruling caste, they do not want to give the constitutional rights of a majority section of the society, 90%. So those organizations as offshoot, they are created. So a class of educated employees, funds they can provide. They can awaken the society, they can educate the society, they can prepare the people. Then these offshoot wing, student wing, youth wing, cultural wing, so they can protest against the government's policies, against the various laws framed which are against the interest of our people. So thereby again a larger section of the society will participate in that. And once the larger section of the society is there, by the adult frontage for which Baba Sahib has fought tooth and nail, I have told you, it is very important. It is that political power. It is the political power given to the individual if they realize, and if we could make them realize, and through them the masses, through a protest movement, then we can go for the political power. So we are awakening the people. We are launching the protest also simultaneously. And hopefully, if we could succeed, and we will definitely succeed. Because I am working for this organization for the 1977 onward. And I see a change. I see a change. Lot of changes are there. Those were the days, even the scheduled castes were not joining BOMSET. Now, so many different castes among the scheduled castes, they are with us as a community. OBCs were, in fact, in Maharashtra. Some of you are from Maharashtra. The Maharashtrians used to say these OBC people are only attacking us, and you BOMSET people are taking them with you. Now those OBCs are joining with us. So it is a matter of conviction and convincing the people. After all, their rights, they are also not getting. So slowly and slowly, majority, more and more people are joining this movement. And once we succeed in that, I think there is a chance of getting the political power. Without that, we will not be able to succeed.
Good answer, sir. And thank you so much, sir, for joining our online Vihara today. Last time we had some glitches on our technical glitches on our Zoom link, so it didn't happen the whole talk. But today it was a very good talk, sir, on behalf of all the participants and also the Ambedkar Association of North America, along with Marut Rao Sahu, sir. I would like to thank you for coming in on the Vihara. And if you are in the United States, sir, next time in coming days or this year, let us know. We'll planning to invite you on our gatherings. It is happening many places in the area. So if you are here, we'll like to meet you in person also. But on behalf of